Right, hello YouTube, and welcome to another beautiful morning at the Kerbal Space Center. We're back for some more Kerbal Space Program. Last time, we launched Space Camp and then brought the whole thing back in one piece, which was interesting, considering it was like a 40-man space station. No, 17, I think, by the time you featured in the crew. Today, we're going to be launching another Minmus mission, mostly for the science. We're going to reuse the... Oh, what is it? The Mina 6? Mina 5? But we're going to make a very small tweak to it because I had a bit of an idea. So, for those of you who maybe saw it last time, there's the Mina 5, okay. You saw that we pulled off a rather impressive, literally orbital high dive, which was very cool, but not really quite what I had planned for it. However, I have had a bit of a brainwave since the last recording session yesterday. The engines on it, the upper stage, I thought were supposed to be used for manoeuvring, but they're actually very powerful and burn for a very short time, only 5 seconds. So I had the idea, this might work, this might not, but we're going to try it, of automating it a little bit so these would fire when we got quite close to the water's surface. So we're going to make our first use of smart parts, which are parts that will automatically trigger an action once something happens. I'm going to put an altimeter part up there, and we're going to set it. Just going to quickly check it doesn't... Actually, I should probably check it doesn't affect the Delta V too much. I don't think it's very heavy. No, barely at all. And what we're going to do is we're going to set this to go at... meters. At 50... Say... 100 meters above the surface. Is it 100? No, wait, we're supposed to be getting quite close to the ground with this, right? Once we descend past 50 meters via Action Group 1. And Action Group 1... Oh, do we have access to Action Group 1? We do, okay. Will be to activate these engines. What that should mean is, we'll say this is Mina 5.1. When we drop past 50 meters, it should fire the engines automatically and help slow us down. Is the idea. In fact, you know what might be better than 50, actually? If we go up to... we got to 700 and we set these to go off at 500. Let's go off at 500. And what that should do is, just before we would need the parachute, it should massively slow us down and give us time for the parachute to deploy, which was something we had an issue with last time. Other than that, as with the... because this could land on the moon, this will be able to land on Minmus, especially since we're going for a nice flat landing site. And what I don't quite remember is where we landed on Minmus before, which is a little bit of an issue. I know it was one of the flat plains, but because we forgot to put a flag down... we don't know exactly which sort. Although now I think about it, I think we actually can check. So we might actually do that quickly before we launch. We'll leave the rocket on the launch pad and we can, I believe, there is a log of what science you've done. So I believe we can check that and we'll be able to see what experiments have we done on Minmus. If we leave that on the launch pad for now. Oh, I also didn't check the crew. We might have to recover it anyway because I don't know what the crew is on that. Because we will need a scientist. I remember we have to transfer the data for this particular mission, so... Right. I believe it is R&D Archives. That's the one. Kerbin Minmus. Surface landed. Minmus is Greater Flats. Okay, so we have landed on the Greater Flats before. Okay. Let's quickly check who's on board. We'll want to land on one of the places that isn't the Greater Flats. We even have automated landing this time. Oh, I just realised the smart part will trigger... that will trigger on Minmus's surface, which we don't want. Is there any way to disable that temporarily, or are we going to have to slightly scrap that plan? Active. No. Okay, so we can disable it for now. Then we activate it when we get there. So, orbit 100. No, we have Bill on board. Okay. So we need to swap him out for a scientist. Got to do your prep. It's better to do it all early and make sure you got it right than to find out too late that you've forgotten something, which is typically how my missions fail, I should add. It's usually a case of getting to some point and realising, oh, there's a small but critical flaw that is stopping this whole thing from working. Alright, we'll bring... I'll tell you what. Let's give our new guys a try. New guys and girls. Stelbert and Natalan. Yes, we got these two from Space Camp. They were our two graduates, and why not? Let's start them off in a big way. Let's send them to Minmus. Get them leveled up. I find it interesting they started level 1. That's actually quite interesting. They started a slightly higher level than our original Kerbals did. I guess because they've already... I suppose they've already had training. I guess the others will work it out as they went along. Which for Kerbals I could totally believe. Right, so... Got to do that again. Deactivate that for now, because we just want it to fire off when we get to the surface. Up to 100. Auto stage until stage 2. Look there as well, because we probably want it for maneuvers. 3, 2, 1, lift off. There's our 3 Deinonychus engines, propelling us noisily upwards. Again, we're running liquid methane engines for this. They tend to be not, I think, if I remember correctly, not quite as efficient as the cryogenic rockets. But the boil off is either, I think, just not as bad. They have some boil off, but it's not quite as bad. And they have very high thrust. I think they tend to be maybe not super efficient, but very powerful. These ones seem to be plenty powerful enough for this rocket at any rate. It's not the cheapest rocket in the world, this one, but we're still doing pretty well. We're still easily over 1 million. We've got 42 science, though, so we'll want to definitely want to pick some up when we're out there. Our only contract at the moment is just to put a flag on Minmus. But we'll, like I say, we'll gather some science while we're out there, because it would be silly not to. Fairly, the set missions are getting fairly routine at this point. We've got, the interior overlay does work. You can just about see it through the window. We've done a few of these at this point. We have a little bit of an idea what we're doing, and again, we've got the autopilot making it easier. It's like our pilot, I think, is looking fairly good. Or at least not panicking at any rate, which is probably a good sign. Not sure what this means, but it's probably good. Or this. There was a mod that actually makes the cockpits a lot more interactable and makes a lot of them actually work. I don't know whether that's still around, and whether it would work with this stuff, but it could be worth... It's all a good feature, perhaps. Could be interesting to see. I know some people have done missions entirely from inside a capsule on... I'm not sure if they use the map view or not, but... I think in our case I'd rather get a view of what's going on. We built this nice rocket, we'd like to be able to see it. Ascending nearly at 100 now. F-Laps has hit 100. Low below. This is also a bit of an interesting day for me. Because today, while obviously it won't be for you guys because it will be out by this point, in real life for me, today is the day that my second game released. So it is out already at this point. Sel Quinta, 6 City Quest. There is a link to the trailer in the description. So yeah, it's released and I'm just like, oh boy, I really hope this works. I really hope that people try it and like it and whatnot. A little bit nerve-wracking to say the least, but I'm hoping for the best. We'll go to 1 RCS because otherwise we turn very slow. We are losing a little bit of thrust from our emergency brake, but I think that's acceptable. We should be okay. We set it a little low last time, which caused us some problems. Again, the idea is we'll use the automatic system to basically cut our speed just for the parachutes that we want to deploy. And we will make sure we aim our descent for over water this time, because If we'd hit the land, I know that area is tough, but I think we would have exploded. I think it was partly because we hit water and we had the heat shield to protect us that we survived that impact at all. I'm not even sure we technically should have. I have a partial feeling it may have been a glitch, but yeah. It might even be that we just had slowed down to 55 and it just hadn't really registered. Like we'd hit it, everything had happened so quickly. Either I hadn't seen the speedo or the speedo hadn't updated in time, but engines will fire up any minute. Oh, there it is. Oh, shoot, the wobble. I forgot about the wobble. No. No wobbling. Same for you guys. Off. Nope. Nope. Fins. Can't do anything now. We're in space. I should disable RCS because that won't be helping at this point. Oh, right. That was the other thing we wanted to upgrade. I knew there was something else. We wanted to sort that out for a 45. Some more fuel efficiency out of it. And also the ability to gimbal, which would be good for these burns, because it's a tiny little bit unstable. Not enough to be a major issue, but enough to be a little bit noticeable. Right. Oh, hang on. I forgot I can drag this out of the way, can't I? Yeah, I finally remembered how to do that. A little while back. Right. Leave a planet. Okay, minimus. Okay. Oh, and Delta V. Let's see what we're looking for with for fuel. Over here for now. Looking pretty okay. Takes a bit more to get out there, but it takes very little to actually circularize once we're there, so that's about right. Let's do this one on the reaction wheels. We'll try and maybe save a bit more monoprop this time, because we want to again try that the effectively e-brake those engines. It actually sounds from the description like that's what they're meant to be for. They're meant to be for slowing you down quickly, because I think the other thing that they're at is it's quite aerodynamic, obviously, if you look at the shape of it. Not so much this sort of exposed bit where the engines are in, but the rest of it is. I'm really surprised they didn't design it with like little slide over covers. I feel like that's what you do in real life. You'd have little aerodynamic but heat shield covered covers that would slide over to cover the engines and deploy out the way when you wanted to fire them. Unless they'd worry that they'd get too hot and expand and then they'd jam open or jam shut. Interesting thought. Yeah, it must be so weird having to design things like that. You have to work out, like, how hot's it going to be? How much is the metal in this part going to expand? And therefore we're going to need tolerance for it. I don't know if they've ever tried to engineer anything like that. I imagine they probably, in real life, just design all the parts to be static when it comes to heat shields, so they don't have to worry about it. And put your engines to the side, extend out the side of the pod, maybe, rather than the heat shield at all. Should be kind of cool. There are deployable engines in at least one old mod that I remember. I think like the guy sort of made the plug-in for it so they could have deployable engines in other mods, and then not a huge amount ultimately ended up taking use of it, or making use of it. But it was a cool idea. And he did at least make a few of his own, so it wasn't completely wasted. Yes, as usual, space. The majority of it is point in the correct direction, burn for the correct amount of time, wait for results, basically. The other thing I think it's probably a good thing to talk about now while we're in a system where it's not so much of an issue. One thing that can come up during these maneuvers is other planets getting in the way. Now on Kerbin, this is not too bad. The Moon and Minimus tend to be out of each other's way. Now on Duna, probably be the first place we go to for an extraplanetary trip. It's quite easy to get to. Ike here, which you notice is quite big compared to the other moons, at least compared to its planet, has a habit of getting in the way, screwing up your maneuvers, so that could be interesting later on. We'll probably be alright. Oh yeah, some of the other planets we could potentially go to later, we probably will for science gathering. So yeah, Jewel and its many moons. Jewel being this big old green gas giant. All the moons are a little bit different, and there's something rather interesting hiding on one of them that we might try and visit. I remember finding years back on Kerbal. Eeloo. And, of course, back to our lander. Right, I think this maneuver is going to be slightly scuffed. I think that's because of No, I don't even know if it did have to stage midway. I think it's just slightly screwed this one up. Okay. Correct your mistake. Because you've got that maneuver slightly wrong. As we're turning a bit easier now because we've burned up a lot of the fuel in those, that rear tank. What we'll probably do is the same as we did at the moon. Once we're in orbit at the right altitude, we'll ditch this section entirely, even if there's still a little bit of fuel left in it, because we don't want it to screw up our landing, and we'll just land with this. We've still got, yeah, plenty of fuel. 1800 should easily be enough to land and come back from Minmus. Even with my slightly messy manual landings, that shouldn't be a problem, and we'll have enough to adjust our course down a bit. So whilst we have to... Again, as we saw from the high dive, we do have to be a little bit careful with this capsule with landing it. I think we came in a little fast before, to say the least. Well, that's not quite the angle you were looking at for that manoeuvre, but it'll do. Oh. Coming very close, actually. I wonder what type of encounter we've gotten here. It looks very close. Maybe not. Yeah, we are going to hit it at the moment, so change periaps 20 kilometers. You've seen this all before. After 60 seconds, create execute. Quick and easy little maneuver. We'll also make sure we don't have MechDev set to use the RCS on landing this time. That was not supposed to be a thing, and it definitely did that last time. We couldn't switch it off. Can get it to just be like, no, don't use that here. Do not waste that. We don't need to land that precisely. We just need to land in this area. I believe the greater flats are where we landed last time, so we'll pick a biome that isn't that for today's landing. A little bit of crew module space on board here, so we could potentially maybe bring some equipment along with us, or on future missions we could maybe even remove the Science Junior and put a storage module in there with some maybe deployable science experiments on board. Could be a nice easy way to modify this craft and get a bit more use out of it. Not that we particularly get any benefit for reusing the same craft. In the real solar system mod, or the realism overhaul mod, that'll actually be very good, because you actually can you can tool parts to make them cheaper to launch again if you reuse the same sort of part. So you could be like, hey, this is this one stage that we use on like 20 of our rockets kind of thing, and it makes it cheaper because obviously mass production. Which is quite a cool mechanic. They haven't really done that with the base game, but I feel like they certainly could. I don't know whether they need to, because the rockets are not tremendously expensive until you start using the quite advanced parts, but yeah, you might notice that our rocket building has not really cut into the budget yet, but it absolutely will do later with the more advanced propulsion systems. Stuff like the fusion drives and things can be literally millions, or at least hundreds of thousands, and the fuel could also be very expensive on some of it. Sometimes you can make it yourself, and it can actually be quite a good money spitter if you can make your own fuel. Additionally, one other thing I'd like to try at some point, this could be for our big colony ship. Some planets have like the atmosphere's got particles of like stuff like hydrogen in it. You can actually put a magnetic scoop on your craft that will effectively suck that hydrogen in, allow you to refuel just by getting close enough to a planet. I'd very much like to try that at some point. It's a very cool idea, you know, refueling in space just by being in the right place, basically. The most advanced I've got with this sort of similar mod setup before was that I did have a nuclear powered plant ship that could actually reprocess its reactor fuel to run for longer, which is pretty cool. It had I think it was a pulsed fusion engine on it. But we'll try to do something a little different with this one. Right, landing guidance. So pick target on map. That is the greater flat. So I think we landed like there-ish before. Just go for the regular flats, and we'll remember to again put a parachute down this time because we need to. It's part of the contract. We'll also want to. I like how you could hear MechDev furiously mashing the stage key. Right. And at target. Bring us down, autopilot. That was why we had that over there. It was... Yeah, the only thing with the MechDev thing is they try and adjust the windows to be neat, but they have a bad habit of resizing when you do things like, for example, staging. No, do not. Do not do that. RCS is disabled. Very small mover on point nothing on the throttle, basically. Do not use the parachute. You have to be really careful or it will try and do things it's not supposed to. We don't have an engineer. We cannot repack the parachute. We do have spares, but we can't repack them. Ooh. No, we're okay, apparently. That looks worryingly close, but apparently I'm told by our reliable sources, the map view, that we're not going to hit that, but I have to admit, a little concerning. I probably could manually adjust that. Okay, I think we're going to skim it. I think we're going to be coming in pretty much horizontal once we get to the landing point. That definitely disabled. It is. Good. Once we launch again, we'll re-enable that. And we'll try an automated landing. We might even try a quick descent. Might even try descending just from Minmus and see how it goes with this particular craft. Could always quick save once we're in the air and then just recover if it doesn't work out. See how steep we can come in from with this particular design. Right, slowing down gently. Looks like we're going to be good. Ah, now that looks like sandstone. Or green sandstone. Now that's, surprisingly enough, that's useful because we can actually take a sample of that. There's actually quests sometimes to bring back samples like that. I don't know if we have one available. It could even be worth a little look. But yeah, if you go up to them with a Kerbal, like stand on them and then take a sample, you can gain a little bit of extra data. There seems to be a lot of them sort of around the edges of the slope. So what I might do is send one of our Kerbals off jetpacking to go take a look. Because Minmus's gravity is very low, so you can quite safely jetpack around on its surface to get around quickly. If you didn't bring a rover, in fact, it's probably safer than a rover because rovers are a little bit jank in this very, very low gravity. In fact, rovers in Kerbal in general are a bit jank, but especially in low gravity. Driving them is very difficult. You have to keep your speed very low for the most part and slow down well ahead of anything that would cause problems. You're making me worry when you time warp near the ground like that. Alright. However, looks like we're going to be all fine with this landing. Smooth as anything. Oh, that was the other thing we need to avoid this time. We have to avoid falling onto that solar panel or trigger the glitch again. Observe the mystery goo. We will log the pressure. Assuming we can, there probably isn't much. We'll log the temperature. We will observe the materials bay. Still desert themed. We'll take a crew report. We'll take a crew report. There we go. Alright. Out you get that, man. Oh, and do not clonk the solar panel. We'll have her gather the data while she's here. Take the data. Data, and you got that data? Data out of there. Then we could do another crew report later as well. No, no, no. Do not hit that solar panel. We know what happened last time. Store the experiments. Right. Let's put our flag down first for anything else, because that's our mission, and so we won't forget it. Boop. Potential capita beer. Right. Second Minmus landing site. We're still looking for the first one. That's a little salute. Oh, I didn't notice that. If anyone finds it, Please contact SPAC. Right. Let's also take a regular surface sample while we're here. These consist of tiny crystal-like grains. Very pretty, but not probably not edible. Yeah, flub my words. And I still feel like a superhero in a low gravity. And I still forgot the EVA science kit. It's really annoying because it would be useful. It'd be more useful than the parachute, which is not so helpful in gravity, like in planets with no atmosphere, or moons with no atmosphere. Guess we're going to do a big hop. But I'll speed up to about 30. Is the EVA pack supposed to be used like this? I do not know. Seems to be enjoying it though. Hey. But yeah, space does have this nice thing of drag being not really a thing on the moons and gravity being low. You can go a long way on not very much. It's interesting that it did slow down a little bit there and then accelerated. I guess that's going to falling. We've still got plenty of fuel. We've got 5 units of fuel and the jetpack doesn't use very much while it's burning. We will run out if we're excessive with it. So basically use it for that big arc, then we'll slow down once we're near the other side. We'll just thrust upwards to just keep us floating basically. We'll slow down once we're nearly there. Now I think this is sandstone that we can sample. I could be wrong, but it might just be rocks, in which case, oh well, we looked at some rocks. But yes, you do get little ground scatters like this. We investigate it. I see. Apparently this one is not so solid. Okay, so that's not actually a green sandstone of the type we can pick up, apparently. I think they'll... I don't know, maybe we have to take a quest for them to start showing up. But oh well. We came over, we had a look. About 30 meters, as before. Maybe a little faster, maybe 34. We are getting through our fuel, but we're okay for now. We gave ourselves a much bigger upwards kick. I can actually see... No, we can't actually. Okay, I was thinking we'd be able to see our arc, but I think it's a bit either too small or it doesn't register it for Kerbals. Yeah, can you imagine being able to leap 500 meters into the air? I feel like it'd be pretty scary, even on a planet where you fall that slowly. You might even survive an impact at that speed, but I'm not going to risk that. Very well, also might not, and we kind of need our astronauts. They survive space camp, we don't want to kill them here. Unless you finally get to go out on a proper mission. But yes, we will be taken toward the tourism missions later on as well. We do want to, as I said, we're going to, our end goal, I don't think I mentioned that this episode, is to colonize Eeloo. We want to build a big old colony ship and send out some surface ground colonies out there. Potentially also some colonies on other planets. I don't know on that one yet. I also considered maybe also sending one to Moho and do like the 2 most dangerous or most extreme ends of the solar system. Maybe even try and get some of the planet mods working perhaps later on, but that's a long-term consideration. But yes, but to do that we're going to need money, and I figured to that we'll use the space tourism contract pack, and we'll try and build a space hotel or a space casino. I don't know which yet. They're both quite difficult. The casino is kind of crazy because you have to dock asteroids together, and I hope I don't need to explain why that's a bit of a trick. Because them rocks be heavy. Talking like hundreds of tons on the bigger ones. Although probably by the time you actually got them back to Kerbin, like I've done on previous attempts, you probably stripped most of the internals out of them at that point. Right. We are back. We are back in one piece. We have the data we need. We have stored a bunch of data in the command pod. Right. Ascent guidance. And we can take another crew report as well because we've got space for one now. 20 kilometers. We don't need to go up very high. Go. Another 20 science. Track the legs. Not that we particularly need to, but we might as well. Probably on a lot of real landers, I'd imagine, if there's no gravity. I wouldn't be surprised if like the real moon landers' legs don't even retract. They're probably only designed to go one way. It'd be simpler and lighter, I'd imagine, and they're not going to need to come back out again. It's going to land there and stay there. Yes, we ascend. What's that over there? Oh, that's probably our other, that's probably our fuel tank. Still in orbit. If we enable debris. No, it is not. That is from the Moon of 4. We see a bit of debris we actually saw a bit of debris from a previous mission. We may end up having to delete some debris in the long run, depending on how laggy things get. I definitely found over a longer game they can start to build up quite a bit. Sort of surprisingly so, depending on how messy your designs are in terms of like leaving bits behind. Right, maneuver planet. Still got plenty of Delta V. We're going to try, like I said, a quick descent. We'll try testing out our thing in style, our return system. Or not return system, our e-brake, effectively. Active. 700 meters. As long as we've got it throttled up to full, that will fire our engines. These auto stage will turn off just to make sure Mective doesn't screw anything up at this point. We change the staging. It has been known to happen. Usually pretty good, but it will just occasionally screw something up, and it's like, no, no, I would not have done that. Human pilot would not have made that mistake. See the curve over there? I think we have distant object enhancement on. Yeah, I think that's Jewel, a little green speck, and that's probably yeah, that's probably Eve, and that's probably Duna. So green speck. That might even be Dres, that grey speck, or I think that might be something, or that might be Dres, grey speck. I'm not sure. Moho. But yes, distant object enhancement makes so you can see things a lot further away that are big enough, so you can see the planets from a long distance. So I think what else we've got visual mods wise? I think we've got planet shine. I think we're supposed to. I don't know whether we actually do or not, but I may do some fiddling around with those later. Visual mods are usually quite safe to add without breaking anything. Right. We are set to re-enter as planned, so what we'll do, we'll set to retrograde, and we'll use warp helper to atmospheric entry. So there's a little bit more time in that. And we'll see if we reckon we need to burn off some extra fuel to slow down, or whether we think we'll just go straight in for the high-speed drop. We have quick saves, so we can always recover if we need to. We're going to go landing at night. I have no idea whether we'll come down over water or land, which is a bit of a problem, because that was something I wanted to specifically make sure we did. Okay, we are coming in quite fast. So we'll burn some speed off. The readout's not going to mean much at this point. Now, yep. We hit the atmosphere any second. Yep, there it is. Burn until the engine starts to get hot, or really hot, and then we'll ditch it. Probably gonna have solar panels and bits breaking off. That'd be a bit scary to have at the far end of your rocket. Heat warnings on the solar panels. Yeah, they're starting to go. think that's where we ditch it. Use the weight of the aircraft to gyroscope away. Oh yes, I forgot we have to spin a tiny bit to stop our... or at least help keep our emergency brake motors from overheating. Actually, we might be okay. They seem to be withstanding the heat okay. Yeah, I think we might be okay actually. Starting to slow down fairly rapidly. They do get hot, but it looks like they've either made them tough enough or they're getting some partial shielding. They're not overheating at any rate. At the moment, I think we're over water looking at that. They're about the same, so that's good. That's what we were hoping for. We need to make sure we throttle up to full so that when we do, when those do activate, come to stop as intended. We'll hit deploy once it's safe to do so. I think we are over water. Yeah, we are over water. I can see the coastline now. That's good. Actually, we might attach that, but no, we'll keep it for now because I think it helped us on the last landing. Yes, I think our problem last time was that basically we didn't have long enough for the parachute to open. So that's kind of the idea of these automatic motors. Hopefully they will again kick in and save us when we get close to the water. Time up a little bit. So we are coming down fast. I really don't know if that's because the Nereid is quite aerodynamic or if it's something else, but it's just heavy. Might even set that altitude up. 950. Hey, that was cool. It actually worked. In fact, it worked a bit too well, if anything. Oh, look at that. We're at safe speed. It worked. We might even have been okay leaving it to 700. Yeah, so that worked as it was supposed to. That actually fired like a emergency arrestor. They do that on some real pods. There are some real pods that will fire motors when they're very near the ground to shut off the last bit of speed. And I believe there's one that... I don't think anyone died, but I believe there was an astronaut injured at one point when one of them... I think it fired 2 sets, but not the other, and it sort of flipped. Again, I don't believe anyone died from that, but I think it did cause a few sort of minor injuries. Maybe a broken limb or something. But yes, because obviously you've got to slow your pod down to a safe speed before it actually hits the ground. What we might do is ditch the heat shield just to make sure we're definitely going slow enough. I mean, this thing has a impact resilience of like 55, but it's pretty high, but it doesn't hurt to shed the extra weight. It'll make it less likely that we'll sink. Which again should be fine, but it's a lot nicer landing than the first time an area capsule came down from our space program anyway. And these work, clearly. I do like that emergency slowdown system, that's cool. And we could probably burn more, we could probably use our RCS if we use this design again and still have plenty to slow down with because we had some access. Right, let's see what we've actually come back with, and then we'll call it for this episode. I'd say that's been a pretty successful day, even if it's been a semi-repeat of something we've done before a few times at this point. But clearly in an area had something that you can be quite rough with. You can pretty much throw it at the planet. Right, 516 science, good. Not a huge amount of funds, but we also get about, I think, 200,000 from contracts. Level 2 on our two of our new recruits. And yes, or single contract, 150,000 for planting the flag. And of course, then we didn't get the world first before because we didn't actually land on Minmus before. Right, I'll call that there. As said, I've got a new game out, so go check it out. It's in the release. And hopefully you've all enjoyed. I'll see you guys all again next time.